Welcome to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcast on data protection in the European Union.
In the digital era, data is the new currency, and data protection an increasingly important social, legal and political matter for the EU.
But how well protected is our data, and what challenges lie ahead? Stay with us.
Whether it is geographical information, statistics, weather records, research data, transport data, energy consumption data, commercial data, health data, or personal data we share on social media and connected devices, the volume of data being produced worldwide is growing exponentially.
And access to such data is power. Power to influence decisions on trivial things, such as where to spend our next holiday, and on important things, such as which party to vote for in a political election.
Truth is that artificial intelligence, which relies on the mass collection of data to operate, poses fundamental challenges to privacy and personal data protection, as well as a discrimination risk, and citizens know it.
Yes, they do. That's why 8 in every 10 Europeans, according to a Eurobarometer survey, admit to feeling concerned or very concerned about the control of their personal data provided online. So what does the EU do to protect our data?
The right to privacy and to protection of personal data are both enshrined in the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the EU and the EU treaties. The entry into force of the Lisbon Treaty in 2009 gave the Charter the same legal value as the treaties, providing a stronger basis for a more effective and comprehensive data protection regime in the EU.
Yes, Europe needed to deal with the challenges of an increasingly digital world. So, in 2012, the Commission launched an ambitious reform to modernise its data protection rules and make them fit for the digital era.
The reform resulted in the adoption in 2016 of the main EU data protection legislative instrument, the General Data Protection Regulation, best known as GDPR, and the Law Enforcement Directive, which aims at protecting personal data when it is used by criminal law enforcement authorities for law enforcement purposes.
The framework overhaul also included an updated regulation on data processing in the EU institutions and reforming the e-privacy directive, which intends to harmonise national provisions and provide specific rules for electronic communication services. However, negotiations on this one are still ongoing.
So what is GDPR exactly? Stay with us.
GDPR is a new set of rules that give EU citizens more control over their personal data and simplify the regulatory environment to allow both citizens and businesses in the EU to get the maximum benefit from the digital economy.
Not only does GDPR ensure that organisations gather personal data legally and under strict conditions, but those who collect and manage it are obliged to protect the data from misuse or face harsh fines.
Though it was drafted and adopted by the EU, it imposes obligations on organisations anywhere in the world, as long as they target or collect data related to people living in the EU. So what new rights did EU citizens acquire with the GDPR?
Well, many. The right to know what data a company has collected about them, the right to have it deleted if it doesn't serve a specific purpose, the right to receive clear information about who is processing the data, what data and why, the right to transfer data to another service provider, and the right to know when data has been hacked.
The GDPR also establishes a new European Data Protection Board, which ensures the consistent application of data protection rules throughout the EU and promotes cooperation between national data protection authorities.
The European Parliament has played a major role in reforming data protection rules, both as co-legislator and author of own initiative reports and resolutions seeking to guarantee a high level of data protection to EU citizens.
Data protection has always been at the heart of the European Parliament. In October 2018, for example, following the scandal on the use of Facebook users' data by Cambridge Analytica, it urged member states to engage with online platforms to increase awareness and transparency regarding elections.
Another European institution which has played an important role in building the EU data protection framework is the European Court of Justice. Those landmark judgments in recent years have emphasised the importance of firmly upholding data protection and privacy rights as an intrinsic feature of EU democracies.
So what challenges lie ahead? Stay with us.
Well, in the coming years, potential changes to the data protection framework include the question of how to adapt the GDPR to emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, facial recognition technology, and the Internet of Things.
Both the European Parliament and the Commission know that for the full potential of data as a social good to be unlocked, some issues need to be addressed first. Notably, citizens' lack of trust in technology and their sense of loss of control of their personal data. So that is one major task for the future.
Potential fragmentation issues include differing EU countries' interpretations of consent for data processing. At the same time, compliance burdens for small and medium-sized companies and insufficient resources for data protection authorities may present challenges for enforcement.
Debate has also intensified around the question of data retention and whether it should be allowed to retain people's personal data to fight crime and terrorism. And if yes, what data and for how long?
The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, recently emphasised the need to balance the wide use of data with high standards with regard to privacy, security and ethics, quoting GDPR as a global game changer.
The European Commission will likely address all these issues when carrying out its evaluation of the GDPR, which provides the perfect opportunity to take stock of the successes and failures of the first 2 years of its application.
You're listening to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcasts.